Let us start with the scientific session. The first speaker is Dr. Ajay Kapoor. Dr. Ajay Kapoor is currently HOD Retina Department at Brad Eye Hospital, Bhatinda and Kotkapura. Ex-HOD Retina, Venu Eye Institute, New Delhi. He did MBBS from Government Medical College, Patiala, and MS from DMC, Ludhiana. Vitro Retina training and fellowship from AIMS and LVPIs. ROP training from LVPI. Prolific vitreoretina surgeon with more than 5,000 retina surgeries to his credit. Doing ROP work since 2005, executed Sight Savers International's ROP program in Delhi. Dr. Ajay Kapoor, please start your presentation.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Dr. Kalia. Thank you, Punjab Ophthalmological Society and Dr. Sangeet for giving me this opportunity of presenting this talk here today. The idea when we started thinking that what to present in today's talk, and Dr. Sangeet suggested ROP, because what he wanted was that with this talk we should be able to stimulate the young minds to take up ROP work, because there's a huge gap here. And this is what I'm trying to do with my talk today. This talk is not about teaching ROP, but this talk is about stimulating the young minds to take up ROP work. So you see, there's a huge unmet need. India has the highest rate of preterm birth deliveries. Approximately 3.5 million preterm babies are born each year. And there's a mushrooming growth of NICUs and government special neonatal care units, which are now 700 in numbers. And ROP screening and treatment is not associated with all these NICUs and SNCUs. Rather, only very few NICUs and SNCUs have associated ROP screening program. So babies are being saved, but it's a suboptimal neonatal care. Infant mortality rate is decreasing, but oxygen is not being monitored rigorously as it should be. Hence, ROP is increasing. And in addition to these smaller babies, in India we have a problem of larger and heavier babies which are developing the disease too, which adds to the burden. One survey conducted by and published in IGO by Dr. R.V. Azad showed that it was for pediatricians that 58% were only screening, regularly screening for ROP, 34% did not screen at all, and 8% screened erratically. So 34 plus 8 is about 42% of pediatricians were not screening for ROP, which is a very huge number. This is why we have a lot of ROP blindness. And only 25% of those who were screening did so as per laid down standard protocols. And when asked them what was the major deterrent, they said it was non-availability of the trained ophthalmologist. So the word here, important word, is trained ophthalmologist, is very important, because many pediatricians feel or felt that even if we send the babies for screening, the babies are developing ROP because they are not being seen as they should be. A paper by Anand Vinikar et al. Showed that incidence of ROP was 41.5%, any stage of ROP, amongst all the preterm babies that they screened, and treatable out of these were about 26%. And if they took all the babies, then it was about 10% of all the babies screened had a treatable ROP. So when we consider the number of preterm babies, which is 3.5 million, imagine the number of babies who are going to develop treatable ROP. And as the services are very poorly available, how many of these are becoming blind, we can very well imagine. So there is a quite skewed ratio of demand versus supply. So incidence of ROP, as I already told you, various papers say 38 to 47%. So approximately we have 20,000 ophthalmologists, 2,000 retina specialists, and a newly formed group, which is of all the people who are doing ROP work, which is IROP, has about 200 members. So you see, even all the retina specialists are not doing ROP work. So here is what we want, that at least all the retina specialists should do ROP work. And if even a general ophthalmologist get trained and start doing, we shall be very, very happy. People doing ROP in Punjab are approximately 15 or a little more in number. It is much better than many other states, but I still feel it is much less.
सर
We ask the PGI people where they are
हाँ जी
seeing
सर
stage 4, stage 5 every day and doing surgery, they will definitely vouch for this.
हाँ जी सर ठीक है सर
So, how did I start with my ROP work? It was just by fluke, I would say. because I was working in Venu Eye Institute, and there was this Sight Saver International program which needed to be done, and nobody else was ready to do. So, and I believe that when life throws lemons at you, don't make only lemonade, make limoncello. So I accepted that challenge. I took up training, and I'm very thankful to Sight Savers International, CBM, and Venu Eye Institute that I was pushed into this field. So my journey in ROP began in 2006, when after training from LV Prasad, I started hunting where should I start my ROP work. Now Delhi is a very competitive market where you have very big fish and big centers like AIMS, Guru Nanak Eye Center, Shroff Eye Center. So nobody was ready to allow me to enter into this field. But then I found Kasturba Hospital, which is a government hospital near Jama Masjid, a very crowded area, and they were not having anyone to screen for babies there, and that's where I started. And there was one private center also, which later on allowed me, which was Delhi Newborn Center. So I did ROP work there for 1 year, which was highly appreciated by Sight Savers International. Dr. Claire Gilbert from England had come to evaluate that program. And then after 1 year, I shifted back to Punjab and took up job in Brad Eye Hospital in Kotkapura. So Kotkapura was at that time known for two people. One was Brad Eye Hospital in ophthalmology, and another was at tertiary care level 3 nursery, which is by the name of Chandigarh Child Care Center. And they were too happy that, okay, now we'll have a regular ROP screening done. And that's from where we started here in Punjab. Now we also have a hospital in Bathinda and 7 NICUs in Bathinda, and many more around Bathinda are associated with us for ROP work. This is my certificate for ROP training under Dr. Subhadra Jalali at LV Prasad. And these are four photographs of Kasturba Hospital near Jama Masjid, where I started ROP work. And these are some old memories of screening ROP in Kasturba Hospital. This is screening in Venu Eye Institute, Delhi. This is also Delhi, Venu. And this on the left is Dr. Sanjeev Gupta, owner of Delhi Newborn Center. And this picture was given to me by Dr. Claire Gilbert herself. She presents this, shows this picture in many of her presentations. And this baby's picture was even put on RBSK brochure, but later on government did not accept that manuscript. It was changed and this picture was removed. This lady herself is a doctor. This is my picture attending the first World ROP conference in Lithuania. Yeah. And this is ROP screening being done in Brad Eye Hospital. Now our OPD is more full of neonates rather than adults these days. This is a picture of attending the first IROP meeting in Bangalore. And I also received the ACON gold medal for doing ROP work. This is ROP wearing a PPP kit these days in the COVID era. So I was just analyzing that from January 2018 onwards, we've done about 3,000 screenings. We've lost data before that. Our hard disk had crashed. And I've treated 135 babies out of them, majority with the laser. And success rate is between 95 to 99%. And this data shows that we are not at all over treating and we have excellent outcomes, unlike believed by many people that ROP doesn't have good outcomes. So this is a result of very strong protocol based screening that we are doing. No child is being missed. We are calling them on telephones and then examining them. I'm thankful to all my teachers in ROP, to mention Dr. Anjali Hussain, Dr. Subhadra, Dr. Mangad Dogra, Dr. R.V. Azad, who taught me this. And I'm also thankful to all the pediatricians, neonatologists, and ophthalmologists who have faith on me and set these babies to me. I'm especially thankful to my daughter Urvashi for this ROP work, because the first call that I received for doing a screening was on the day she was born. Now a little bit about whom should be screened. Any baby born with a birth weight of less than 2000 grams and period of gestation less than 34 weeks should be screened. These are the NNF guidelines. And this is what we should be following, not the Western guidelines. Because if we follow the Western guidelines, then we are going to miss a lot of babies. Like 16.1% of babies were greater than 1750 grams in this paper by Anand Vinekar and Dr. Dogra from PGI. 6.5% were greater than 2000 grams, and 22.6% babies were greater than 32 weeks of gestation. What should be the screening schedule? Babies born less than 28 weeks should be screened 2 weeks after birth. Between 29 and 34 weeks of birth should be seen after 3 to 4 weeks of birth. This is a screening video which we can run later. For people who want to see the picture, this is a normal immature retina. And here you have a stage 1 ROP. This is stage 2, where you have a volume to the ridge This is three-dimensional ridge. This is now new vascularization has developed. This is stage 3. And see, these are the photographs. These are the photographs taken from net, but these are the photographs which I have clicked myself using MI RedCam with 28 diopter lens. Real world pictures of a plus disease. See that the amount of dilatation and tortuosity. And this is the regression of ROP. On the left side is a freshly done laser, and the right side is after it has scarred and ROP has regressed. And this shows about whom to treat. Now we are dividing treatment, treatable ROP as type 1 and type 2. In type 1, you give treatment immediately. In type 2 is wait and watch. So this is a child you see now is grown up. So we have saved him from blindness, and he is going to realize his full potential. So I request anyone who is interested in learning the art of ROP screening and laser, they can contact me. I shall be too happy to teach this art so that it percolates down and people, more and more people take this up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay. Thank you, Dr. Ajay, for such a nice presentation and doing such a great work.
Just one question to Dr. Ajay. He is there.
Yes.
Dr. Ajay?
Yes, please, Dr. Kalia.
What percentage of oxygen, what advice we can give to pediatrician while treating the premature infants? If some pediatrician asks.
No, our advice to them is always that as low percentage on their ventilators as possible, which can result in SpO2 of between 90 and 92 percentage. 92%. And actually ventilators, they can control the oxygen, but the problem comes when they give oxygen by hood and the nasal prongs. That's when they're giving 100% oxygen, but they will always say, oh, we are just giving half a liter per minute. So this half a liter is not important. What is important is the percentage. It's 100% oxygen which is being given indiscriminately for many, many days. That's what is causing the problem. So they should be having blenders with them. Once you have blenders in the nursery, the rate of ROP, treatable ROP of that nursery really goes down, and I've seen it myself.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I, Sakit, can I?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
excellent talk.
Yeah, excellent talk, Ajay. Dinesh, can I? Or you want to go first?
No, sure, please. No.
So, excellent talk, Ajay. Marvelous. I didn't, it's a revelation to me, this set of yours. Fantastic and congratulations. During COVID times, any particular protocol or change thereof while injecting intravitreally these babies, intravitreal injection? Any change in protocol or the same?
Just that the babies do not, we just check that the babies do not have fever. Rest, everything is just the same. Because we, anyway, intravitreal injections are given in the OT with full washing down and everything, scrubbing. So no other change. We have not made any. The only change which we have made is about screening now, which we are doing with gloves and wearing this thing, gown and all. And child is wrapped in a sterile sheet, not in the OPD otherwise as we used to do earlier.
Can I comment?
Dr. Dinesh, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I would say excellent talk and
good
work being done in Southern Malwa region. I think he is taking care of all of the region, and it's a very stimulating talk.
Thank you, sir.
I would just like to say that I was the one who started it in medical colleges of Punjab. I started doing ROP screening in DMC Ludhiana in 99. And at that time, nobody was doing it in any medical college of Punjab except in PGI. And I always had my doubts when I would consult Dr. Dogra and refer those difficult cases to him. Started with doing cryos and later on lasers. And now, of course, lot many people are doing and lot many pediatricians are aware of this. So in all these years, we have come a very long way, but still I feel we are missing one part of the puzzle, and that is that we are not, I think, contacting or educating or making the gynecologists aware of the complications of preterm deliveries. Because although in their forums they do discuss preterm deliveries and all, but if somehow they are able to, delay the delivery by even 2 weeks, that will go a long way in preventing, very low birth weight babies. And we are not living in a Western country where 500, 600 grammar can be saved and lead a normal life. Like the ones which we did cryo, say, like I get one child, he is now 17 years old, and we did cryo for him. And at that time, the cryo was the only alternative with us, and he at that time developed some corneal opacity, and now that eye is amblyopic. He is managing with one eye with very high myopia. But I think in all this journey, we should involve the gynecologists as well. That's my personal feeling. Probably that's the part of the puzzle which we are missing.
Yes, you're very right.
One thing, Dr. Ajay, is like the role of anesthetist in managing these patients. So how do you do this? Do you involve an anesthetist at any stage, like in screening or in doing laser or in surgery? I think I'll ask this question to Dr. Praveen and Dr. Raman also, what type of anesthesia they preferred during the surgery. And so first I'll, Ajay, you just guess whether.
Yeah, Sangeet, first of all, let me tell you, my battery levels are falling. I may go offline any minute. I can't find the switch to plug it on. Anyway, since I do not do ROP surgery as of now, I do not require an anesthetist. The only time when we are doing laser is I make it a point to always do it in an NICU. We never do it in our own hospital. So lasers are done in the presence of NICU. Again, anesthetist is not needed. So I have no need.
Because this is one of the major fears in the mind of people before taking up ROP work. Dr. Praveen, would you like to say something on this?
Yeah, I think first, definitely Dr. Ajay deserves a lot of congratulations. Most of us in the ROP Society are aware of the good work that he's doing. And I would agree with Dr. Dinesh Garg also that we need a teamwork where gynecologists, pediatricians, and ophthalmologists all work together, and then only this menace can be reduced. One thing which I often say is from the statistics that Dr. Ajay showed that there are 2,000 VR surgeons and there are only 200 IROP members or 200 people who are doing ROP work. I don't see why this difference should be there. It should be all 2,000 should be doing ROP work and the problem is solved. So that is what we are aiming, that all the fellows, all the trainees, whoever go from our institute, if all of them are used to it, somebody who's doing adult lasers and who has done thousands and thousands of adult laser, he's the best candidate to start doing a laser for a baby. So this 2,000 to 200, I think gap should be eliminated. Where the your question is concerned, Sangeet, we do all our lasers and examination under topical anesthesia. We have never felt the need for general anesthesia for any of the lasers, but yes, we do involve the anesthetist right from the very beginning, because the laser is also done under care and supervision of an anesthetist. Oxygen levels are monitored. There is an ECG, leads are connected, bradycardia is looked after. Where general anesthesia is concerned, actually a very small fraction of these babies need surgery. So if you are largely taking care of screening and laser, surgery may not be required in a lot of people. And if required, it definitely needs a trained hand of anesthetist. It is not a very simple and straightforward thing because these babies are premature, small for gestational age, and they'll be something like 2 months, 1 month, 3 months. So that is a limiting factor which is going to be there. So best is, finish it at laser and don't go to the extent of surgery. There was another very good question from Dr. Jayant Guha as to what is the change in the COVID era. So we are using all PPE, but we had a peculiar situation where we had a child who was COVID positive and had ROP, so needed to be treated. And there, usually we do not prefer intravitreal injection of anti-VEGF over laser. Wherever laser is possible, we try to do that. But here, because the child was COVID positive, we didn't want to keep the child crying and all that for half an hour, 40 minutes. So we took all precautions and injected anti-VEGF in both eyes, and that way we bought some time, because COVID is not going to remain forever. So it is a disease that the child is going to come out of it after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. He's going to become COVID negative, and anti-VEGF can give you that much of time. So this is something which we can all keep in mind, that this particularly it can be useful in this COVID era, that you can give an anti-VEGF, buy some time, and then follow it up with laser.
Dr. Parveen, I would like to make a point here. We are doing lasers only. Anti-VEGF we are not giving, but we are doing it with a visor. And in case it's possible, we put the baby in the incubator. And 1 laser I have done in incubator, and 3 lasers I have done putting the PPE kit. So I could manage fairly well, I think so.
No, that's true. We have also done. We have something called the aerosol containment box. We put the baby inside that, and the laser goes through it very easily. You don't have to worry. But this was a COVID positive, not only for the risk of transmission, but the child was physically not well also. So for that child, that the child is crying already with pulmonary infiltrates, you may not want to add to the morbidity of the baby. So for the baby's sake, we avoided the laser procedure, gave an anti-VEGF. When the child is better, we followed it with laser, and the problem was solved. Otherwise, when we don't know the COVID, we are not doing COVID tests for all babies also.
Yeah, we are also.
Whenever the child needs laser, we do it with PPE. We have an indirect laser which is covered. I think we all do those precautions, and we have not stopped doing ROP work at all. It's going on.
No, Dr. Praveen, fantastic points though. Just one small query. We had seen for the first time a long way back. Personally, I'm not much into. Though I would like to be part of the 200, which I might soon, but not yet now. So I remember Dr. Mangad Dogra designing, cabinet where he was doing laser through the. Your aerosol box is similar to that design.
The incubator.
We were also actually inspired by Dr. Mangad Dogra's article years ago, where he has shown that the laser can go through incubator. So we thought if the laser can go through incubator, so we had made this aerosol containment box for general anesthesia, babies who undergo general anesthesia. So it's an aerosol generating procedure when these babies have to be intubated. So we put them in a containment box, which has holes in the sides. You can put the hand through that. And top there's an opening. You can put it through a suction tubing. So that goes directly into hydrogen peroxide solution, so that whatever the breath comes out, if at all there is virus, it goes into that. It's not let out into the environment. And once the intubation is done and you are connected to the tubing, then the airway is secure and isolated. Then it can be removed and you can do your draping and start the surgery. So this is something which I think we have published it also, how we are doing, and general anesthesia induction through this box. So it has come out very handy and pretty useful, and only for a few cases we needed to do this for ROP. But since you cannot put a mask on a 1-month-old child, and the laser procedure may take you 45 minutes or half an hour at least, and you cannot check COVID status for every baby, doesn't make sense. So this is an option that you have. You could use it if you're comfortable using it. Otherwise, PPE with indirect and shield, all that is also just fine.
One question I want to ask Dr. Ajay. Congrats for a very nice talk. The question is that how many people you've got, like how many young people have come for the training? The response I wanted to see, because I feel the response should be good. In our institute, it is not good if you want to train the juniors. So I wanted to take input from you. What kind of response are you getting for the training?
I'll see the response. I've just made an announcement today.
Okay. Because nobody wants to join.
These things hold them back. One is the anesthesia problem, And the other thing is legal implications. I think these are the two things which hold the young retina surgeons back while doing the ROP work. But I think it's very exciting what Dr. Ajay has done.
I want to mention that our regional institute is basically training institute for the government ophthalmologist in ROP screening. So their government is sending ophthalmologists for 1 month for ROP training, and we have trained 12 ophthalmologists from the field. They are doing screening and they are referring the babies to us for laser and other treatment. So now government is after every general ophthalmologist in government sector, this is the target given to our institution to train 144 ophthalmologists in the field. So now ophthalmologists are coming for ROP training. They are interested in ROP training because government has included this ROP screening in National Program for Control of Blindness last year only, last year. So now it is the responsibility of ophthalmologists in the district hospitals, and also government is giving indirect ophthalmoscope with 28 diopter lens for screening in each and every district hospital, primary health center and community health center. And our residents are now trained in ROP screening every second year and third year residents, even they are doing lasers also. Now the young generation is coming forward for this ROP work. So in future we have so many ROP ophthalmologists screening ROP.
In my standalone center, we have a general consent for OPD, where we have written ROP screening, and that's a consent for screening as well. And we don't need any anesthetist for examination. Of course, for lasers, we either have anesthetist or a pediatrician along with.
Yes.
So
Any procedure.
I do lasers or injections. I don't do retinal surgery for ROP. When I was in DMC, I did a few for stage 4 and stage 5, but at there, the full anesthesia team was available. But,
we are doing lasers in presence of pediatrician only in our neonatal.
Either the pediatrician or anesthetist, we make them.
Dr. Sandeep,
I think, yes, sir.
Two things I want to share after such a wonderful talk by Dr. Ajay and a beautiful discussion thereafter.
Yes, sir.
So like in our trauma meetings, they often ask for advocacy. If we talk of ROP, we need an advocacy which has to be spearheaded by retinal surgeon, ROP surgeon, visiting gynecologist, pediatrician to update them, to educate them the need of ROP screening and prevention of this blindness, which is going to be for a long time. So I think you take an initiative for this sort of program so that we can disseminate this knowledge to everybody dealing with a premature or a mature child. The second issue is the anesthetist, whether we need or we do not need. Like there was an issue in our department, our doctor is doing this ROP quite often. So we have, as per NABH, we have a set procedure which are designed to have a way, and we have a procedure which is having a monitoring or anesthesia or under sedation or isolation, that sort of thing. So during those procedures, one person is doing the procedure, the other has to monitor the vitals. So in that case, maybe you are screening, maybe you are doing FL OPD, maybe you are doing lasers, maybe you are doing a surgery. You need a different person, preferably an anesthetist, specifically in a child. If not a neonatologist anesthetist, so who can monitor the vitals? That would be an additive factor. That's what I wanted to share with you.
Thank you, sir.
So can I add one thing? I think the part of ROP learning, I think the one thing I was with PKMM also there, and I think the basic part of learning in ROP comes with seeing ROP, and that comes very well if you're looking at if you have a RedCam or even the Trinetra that's working right now. And we've been doing ROP screening for almost now 2 years, and I have been doing imaging for all the babies right now, and it's much more easier to show even when somebody brings an ROP child, when you bring the gynecologist or the NICU people, when they see that these kids can have ROP is when it becomes much more easier. So I think every city should have one
It
imaging.
should have an outreach program sort of thing.
There was a work going on starting a similar kid ROP project in Punjab also. We were working on it, and I think with the COVID, that thing has got stalled right now. And where the whole team was being set up, where an entire area around a 100-kilometer radius was being covered, where imaging will be sent. We already had our staff trained for doing the imaging, and they had been trained as per to the protocols of the kid ROP program. And I think that is going to get initiated by, I think if this COVID ends, and then we can definitely start on it. We already have the machine. We have the mobile machine which can carry the camera and can go to every NICU center, and it takes and checks the babies.
Very good.
My trainee is trained enough that he can see stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, and that he can tell me. And this is according to the staging done by Anand Vinekar. And he himself even tells and trains your staff workers who can go around and do that. So I think this is coming in the next couple of years, and that is the program that needs to be worked on at the Punjab level.